Well, we are about 39, 40 days away from NBA free agency. For those who don't know, we got moved up to June 30th now instead of July 1st. Moved it up a whole day.
Whole day.
So why not give our predictions a whole month and a half before, right?
That's right.
Almost a month and a half. We'll get right into it. We just did our NBA mock draft, and now we're going to go right into NBA free agents. So kind of going over this big NBA offseason, especially for a few teams here. Now, the biggest free agent out there, not going to sugarcoat this, is no doubt Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, but 10-time All-Star, 2-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, NBA MVP. My opinion, the best player in the league. This is going to be a hell of an offseason. The rumored teams in the running for Kevin Durant. The Pistons, Magic, and Suns. No, I'm just kidding. The Clippers, Warriors, and Knicks. It seems to only be between those three teams. The Mavericks have kind of been interested, but I'm not sure how much Kevin Durant is interested in joining them. Obviously, it has to be on both sides. Most people thought it was just between the Knicks and the Warriors, but yesterday, news broke that the Clippers have just as good as a shot as the Knicks do to go out and steal KD from the Warriors. I am fully anticipating Kevin Durant to make a departure from the Golden State Warriors. So it comes down to Clippers or Knicks. Matt, you're going to hate me for this, buddy, but I think he ends up going to New York or the Nets as well. That's a team I forgot to mention as well. The Nets will also be in the running for Kevin Durant, especially if Kyrie goes there, because it turns out Kyrie's more interested in the Nets than the Knicks. So for Kevin Durant, for the time being, because I've just seen more Knicks connections than the Nets, I'm going to put the Knicks. Madison Square Garden, Big Apple. He already moved his company there. 35 Ventures, which is an investment company, I believe. Moved him to New York. Box office player. I mean, me as a player, it would excite me seeing a big advertisement billboard right outside Madison Square Garden of, me or, obviously Kevin Durant in a Knicks jersey. It just seems like the obvious, not obvious choice, but for him, the best choice, and it could kind of show, he could probably carry that team to the playoffs and be a savior for the New York Knicks. And if he goes to New York, whether it's Kemba Walker, whether it's Kyrie Irving, someone will follow him there. And also news broke the other day that he was recruiting players already to New York City. So for me, the time being, Kevin Durant will be a New York Knick come June 30th, July 1st. Matt, go ahead.
Kevin Durant. For those that don't remember, when he was leaving Oklahoma City, it was also rumored the Clippers were in the final list, whatever that was, of Kevin Durant's choices.
It was between Golden State, OKC, Boston, and the Clippers.
So, kind of doesn't surprise me the Clippers found their way back in there. I mean, other than the roster is a little bit different than when he left Oklahoma City to go to Golden State. If I'm thinking about this, I mean, it might sound biased, but I think it's a better structure with the Clippers. To me, there seems more balance, and it just seems more well put together. Everybody knows Ballmer's the owner. Jerry West and Michael Winger kind of make the basketball decisions. I mean, Ballmer has a little bit of say, but mainly those two are making the decisions. And everybody knows Doc Rivers is the coach. I do have a little concern with the Knicks because their owner doesn't seem completely invested in his team. It sounds like he's got his little rock band that he's doing on the side. He's kind of just like, all right, whatever. You guys handle basketball. Let me know if I'm making money type thing. I don't know if Kevin Durant necessarily wants to go into that. I call them the train wreck of the East because they have made some really questionable decisions as of lately, much like the Lakers out west. I think if Kevin Durant wants to be happy long term, I think it's going to be with the Clippers because you're going to get a bunch of guys that they don't care what people say about them, what the media says. They're just going to go out there. We saw it this year that they're going to go out and they're going to give 110%. We saw it in the playoffs, took Golden State to 6 games, and took a 50-point performance from Kevin Durant to knock off the Clippers. I just think this makes a lot of sense. Clippers obviously don't have to worry about cap space. They have plenty of it available. Even if they have to move guys like Danilo Gallinari, obviously if you're going to get rid of Danilo and you're going to get Kevin Durant in return, it's a pretty...
I'm taking Gallinari for sure.
It's a pretty good bet there. So KD, will be LAC, presuming that he eliminates Golden State.
Make
Obviously,
sure you put C so people are not Lakers.
LAC. And this is also obviously presuming that he takes Golden State out of contention. Personally, I think Golden State would be the best fit and the best situation for him to keep building his legacy. But if he takes him out, I think the Clippers are the next best option.
Very interesting. Well, next we got Jimmy Butler. To me, it's a 2-horse race for Jimmy Butler. Honestly, I just see the Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers in the running. Sixers traded a whole lot of valuable assets to get him. Robert Covington, Dario Saric. He had obviously a great season. They're not just going to let him walk out the door. They're going to do whatever it takes to keep him. But, he's been linked to the Nets for a while. He was on that. He put the Nets on his trade destination wish list when he was traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I'll keep it short and sweet here with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, come June 30th, will either be. It's too close for me to tell. He'll either be with the Nets or he will be suiting up again with the 76ers. If I had to pick right now, he stays in Philly.
I am with you on this. I don't think it's a close race. I think Philadelphia is set to lock him up. Philadelphia obviously having to make some big decisions here as far as who they're keeping, who they're going to get rid of, because it sounds like they're going to run into a little bit of a salary cap issue. If it comes down to that, Jimmy Butler is somebody you have to lock up long term. He's your leading. I mean, he sets the tone on defense. He provides ample scoring. I get it. His shooting maybe is a little to be desired, but he does make up for it in other aspects of offense. Jimmy Butler, all around, played pretty well in that series. Obviously, there's some other aspects that led to the 76ers not winning, but Philadelphia is going to offer him the max, and I see Jimmy Butler not turning that down.
So Jimmy Butler heading to, or staying with the Philadelphia 76ers, I should say. Next up, we have Kyrie Irving. Now, pains me as a Celtics fan to say it, but I don't think, even if we do end up getting Anthony Davis, I think Kyrie's out that door. It's just seemed like that's been on his mind since, the All-Star break. Constantly being asked about free agency and just kind of silently signaling his departure. For me, it's a close race again. I don't think the Lakers are really going to be in contention for him. This doesn't make a lot of sense considering what a dumpster fire that franchise is right now. For me, I got Kyrie Irving. It's just like Jimmy Butler. It's really too close to call for me. They said he likes the Nets more than the Knicks, but if KD ends up going, he wants to team up with KD. So if KD goes to the Knicks, then I see him following him there. But if he can try and recruit KD to the Nets, then I think they're going to end up going to the Nets. But right now, just based off what I've seen, it just sounds like he's more interested in joining the Nets because they're stable. They know what they're kind of doing right now. They didn't have a failed tank attempt. Their owner is not a complete idiot as well. So right now, I'm going to put Kyrie Irving to the Brooklyn Nets.
This is kind of something I think we will kind of disagree on. You'll see here in a second.
If you put the... Oh my God.
And it's going to be Boston because I think Anthony Davis trade will help at least ease Kyrie a little bit more. That's a really good duo with Kyrie and AD. It sways Kyrie a little bit more to stay in Boston. And really, I just think that's a better fit, especially if KD flakes and he goes out to the Clippers. It kind of leaves Kyrie hung out to dry. He could try to go to the Knicks. I don't see that working out. Nets is still a little bit up in the air. At least Boston, you stay a legitimate winner. You stay legitimate in the Eastern Conference. Even if and this is saying that the Celtics are going to get Anthony Davis. That's why I think Kyrie would stay. If obviously that doesn't work out, then Kyrie will be on the move, I believe.
Well, we're going to talk about an old friend of yours right here, former Los Angeles Clipper Tobias Harris is also a free agent. And we just showed you this recently. He will not re-sign with the Philadelphia 76ers unless he's offered that 5-year, 109, supermax contract. So for me, Tobias Harris, this is going to sound crazy, but Tobias Harris will be a member of the Utah Jazz come next season. The Utah Jazz are going to be hardly pursuing him. I believe they have the cap room. They just got to move together a couple contracts. He stays a contender at least. The Jazz were a 6th seed without him. If you add Tobias Harris to that mix, a front court of him and Rudy Gobert, I think that's very deadly. Granted, they're a horrible fan base. you can obviously sell the pitch of that being a very competitive team. You get Ricky Rubio back, Donovan Mitchell, Joe Ingles, Tobias Harris, and Rudy Gobert. To me, if I'm a player, I mean, I can deal with living with Salt Lake City for a little bit because that's a pretty good team. That's a top 3 team, no doubt. People underestimate Tobias Harris. They underestimate Donovan Mitchell. And Joe Ingles especially, and Rudy Gobert. They don't get enough respect they deserve. And Ricky Rubio. It's a very underrated team. You add Tobias Harris to that team, they become a contender. They're top 3 in the Western Conference, presuming most things stay the way it is right now. Granted, we don't know what's going to happen with the Clippers, but I see Tobias Harris being a member of the Utah Jazz. They've been linked to him for a while, and I think they finally get him this year.
Now, do you believe Utah will give Tobias the max?
Yes, they will.
So they will give him max.
Because Philly won't be able to afford it.
No, and I think we were talking about this a little bit before we started here.
Well, they could, but they'd be over the cap, and ownership would have to start paying that tax to the NBA front office.
Yeah,
And I don't know if that's something they want to do.
right. I think Philly would make the right decision by letting Tobias walk here. I like Tobias a lot. Is he necessarily a max player, like big time max money? I'm just not sold on it just yet. Obviously, that's not saying he won't get it. Somebody is going to pay for it. Utah does seem like a good fit. I could agree with Utah. That kind of seems like a good fit for Tobias, fitting in there with Rudy Gobert. Do they still have Rubio by chance, or
He's a free agent, but I'd expect him to resign.
Yeah, Rubio will be back most likely. Not a terrible team. I'm not sure it's going to win the Western Conference, but it's definitely going to contend in the Western Conference. So I see Tobias going to Utah on a max contract.
Pause to Utah. For those that understand, people are like, well, of course ownership would want to pay for Tobias Harris. That keep him a good team. Ownership has to pay for a $200 million plus renovation to the Wells Fargo Center, and if they don't, they're going to have to find a new arena, and that's just going to cost them more money. So ownership's already got to worry about an arena. They're not going to want to go over $25 million over the cap.
They're not going to want to be like the Thunder.
That's just way more money. So they're going to want him to take that pay cut. If not, I think he's Utah bound. Next, we got another Golden State Warrior, Klay Thompson. Now, Klay is another interesting situation here. Klay, okay. If Kevin Durant stays in sorry Thunder fans. If he stays in Golden State, which I don't think will happen, Klay's out of there.
Correct.
Klay wants the max contract. If the Warriors do not offer Klay Thompson the max contract, I see him going to the Los Angeles Clippers. If they do, he has no good reason to leave. So I think they will. I fully expect Kevin Durant to leave. So I expect him to stay with Golden State Warriors. But if Kevin Durant stays, or they just don't want to offer him the max, or he's just more sold on the Clippers, it will be the Clippers. But I give it about 70% chance he stays with Golden State. If not, I think he's heading to Los Angeles.
Now, let's theoretically here, if KD does take a max contract with Golden State, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe they would be able to afford a max slot for Klay.
Yeah, that's why, because that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm just making sure. I don't want to make a wrong prediction here. So, like Joe said, he made a really good point. KD's kind of the wild card in all this. He kind of makes this free agency move around a little bit. Obviously, we said it before. I think Golden State's the best situation for Kevin. I think it's his best chance to keep building his legacy, and dare I say, maybe sniff at the GOAT. I don't think he'll get there, but he might get
Sniff.
a little. He might get closer than.
Let's sniff around over there.
He might get closer than LeBron. But aside from that, I think with KD leaving, the Warriors, it's going to force the Warriors' hand to give Klay the max. He deserves it. He's arguably a top shooting guard in the league. You can argue who's the best one is, but Klay's certainly in that upper echelon. Klay will get a max contract and stay with his Splash brother Steph. Lose my head here.
Interesting. Klay staying a Warrior by both of us. That's 2 straight predictions in a row that we got matching up together here. So, that leads us to Boogie. We're just going to put Boogie instead of DeMarcus Cousins. I don't think Boogie stays with Golden State. He's on that mid-level exception, correct? $5 million?
Yep.
So, I see Boogie either going to the Los Angeles Lakers or the Dallas Mavericks for 2 reasons. LeBron's going to probably work his ass off this year to go out and recruit a big-time level player. If not, Dallas has a good pitch together too. You got Luka Doncic, you got Kristaps Porzingis, if they go out and get Kemba Walker, Boogie's not going to be more than a $11 million payroll this year. He might be back in the $5 million because he got hurt and whatnot. So for the time being, and Laker fans, because I don't have any big free agent going to Lakers, so Laker fans are going to hate me. For the time being, I see him heading to Dallas to team up with Kristaps, Luka, and I have another free agent going there. I think I already gave it away, but we'll see in a second.
So Boogie, for those that don't know, like Joe said, Lakers, Mavericks seem like the likely choice. I'm just going to illustrate something for our viewers here. Much like you would see on a road where we got Lakers, don't park, don't go to the Lakers. Go to the Mavericks. It's a better situation. They
They know what they're doing up there.
They traded for Kristaps during the season, so obviously getting a healthy Kristaps. Some other nice pieces too, Luka Doncic. So you put in Boogie with that equation. I think the only thing they would be lacking is a guard, a decent guard. You put a decent guard in there, not even great, just a decent one. That's a nice team, Mavericks. So Boogie to the Mavs.
Boogie to Dallas. Boogie's going to go boogieing down to Dallas. Next year we got D'Angelo Russell, who is a restricted free agent, but was right under Boogie, right there. Right under Boogie.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep,
There you go,
buddy.
Lucius. Let's put D'Lo here. Interesting situation here with D'Lo. He's a restricted free agent. For those who don't know what that means, his offer will get matched anywhere he goes. So if he signs a 4-year, it's just a random number, he's probably worth more. 4-year, $120 million deal with the Pelicans, Nets can match it, and he's heading back to Brooklyn. That's where the restricted free agent is. Now, again, D'Lo's an interesting situation. If the Nets get Kyrie and Jimmy together, or they get Kyrie and Kevin Durant together, there's going to be no room for D'Angelo Russell. Because if they get Kyrie, period, he's taking that point guard position. So, it's gave me 3 scenarios. If they don't end up getting Kyrie, obviously, he'll be back in Brooklyn. No doubt. Right?
Mm-hmm.
If they end up getting Kyrie, just Kyrie, if they just end up getting Kyrie or Kemba or another point guard, I could potentially see him going to the Magic. The Magic have been wanting him. I'm sure the Magic would give him that payday. They also have Vucevic being a free agent. You want to do him too? He made an All-Star game.
That's true.
He's worth it. Here's another crazy scenario I'm putting out there, because I've not heard a lot of teams be linked to him during free agency. A sign-and-trade deal with the Boston Celtics. Boston sends Kyrie and potentially picks. D'Angelo Russell. And Woj also said that was a huge possibility. I believe he's on the Get Up the other day, and he said both teams would look into it. If they end up getting Kyrie and Jimmy, or they end up getting Kyrie, if they just get Kyrie alone, they're thinking about pairing those two together and having D'Angelo play the shooting guard. If they get Kyrie and Butler, or if they get Kyrie and Jimmy, they're not going to be able to afford to get D'Lo back. So that scenario, I see him also potentially getting traded to Boston. He would sign that max deal, and they would just swap the 2 players out, and probably both teams would also send additional assets as well. So, call me crazy. I think this is the least likely. I think these 2 are more likely, but it's a scenario that Woj brought up, and I thought it was interesting, so I'll put that there.
So D'Angelo Russell, phenomenal season this year.
Separated again.
Here we go.
A big lump.
Just get rid of the Lakers here. They're not very relevant in our conversation. They haven't been relevant in the Western Conference this year.
Or the last 8 years.
Don't worry about them.
Not a threat.
So anyways, back on the topic with D'Angelo Russell. Great season. Obviously really helped out the Nets in the postseason especially. Nets are going to give him whatever he wants. They would be foolish not to, especially if this
I'm picking D'Lo over Kyrie.
Exactly. I think D'Lo has
Younger, 21 points and 7 assists this year. He took a 28-win team to the playoffs this year. They put up a pretty good series with Philly.
well, not even just
And chemistry reasons, I'm taking D'Lo over
well,
Kyrie.
not even younger, but more, I feel like more potential. I feel like Kyrie's kind of hitting that peak, maybe a little on the starting to hit the decline.
No, he's not on the decline.
Well, he's at least he's hitting that peak.
He's
I think
27. D'Lo's like 22. I'm going with the younger point guard.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm
who had
saying.
nearly as a good season as he did.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like D'Lo can only get better. I think Kyrie can get a little better, but I feel like he's closer to hitting his peak than D'Lo. At least by
They
a
don't get
couple.
point guards don't get there to like 32. Kyrie will get better as well.
So I got D'Lo
But D'Lo's ceiling's more high.
staying with the Nets. Nets were probably going to end up giving him like a max deal, especially if they get a really big offer they have to match. But how good D'Lo played this year, Nets should give him whatever he wants.
Next, we got Vucevic from the. We're just gonna put Vu.
Boom.
The Magic were looking to trade him at the trade deadline, but they ended up keeping him. They made a pretty solid playoff run. It was only the first round, but they got a game on the Toronto Raptors, who are 2 games away from the finals right now. He's interesting as well. He could stay with the Orlando Magic. He could also head down to the Lakers potentially. That's he may be foolish enough, and I think LeBron will maybe get somebody this year. I don't think he'll go too empty-handed. He's got, even if it's a Vucevic or something. He could also go to San Antonio. I don't know how the cap's going to work out there. But for the time being, it just makes the most sense for him to probably return with the Magic. They can give them the most money. They're pretty stable, too. They're heading in the right direction. I think he had a bigger season than most people were expecting. So for the time being, he'll stay with Orlando Magic.
100% agree with you on this one as well. Vu is going to stay with the Magic. Probably, they probably will give him like a max deal or very close to one.
There's different levels of the max. You got to remember. There's max, super max.
Right, exactly. So he's going to get a lot of money to stay with the Magic. The Magic, I feel, if they can sign him, bring in some other pieces, maybe get him a little deeper in the playoffs next year. I get the idea of LeBron trying to recruit, but if I'm a free agent and I'm looking at that front office right now, I'm like, LeBron, you got to fix that front office before I consider you, because it's great playing with you, but I don't want to have to be listening to 12 other people in the front office thinking they have power.
Next up, we got Kemba Walker. 2 places I see him going. Charlotte's out of the picture. I think he's, I'm sure he wants to stay loyal. A part of him does, but staying there does not make any sense for him besides a big contract. So there's 2 places where he's going to go. I think the Mavericks are the best scenario for him. If he decides, the Mavs are also linked to for Vu. That's a team I forgot to mention. They're also linked to Vu. So if he ends up leaving the Magic or decides to leaving and they don't end up getting Boogie, I see Vu going to the Mavs. And then Boogie could also potentially be linked to the Lakers. Now, Kemba, also Mavericks or Lakers. He's 0-29 all time against LeBron. Can't beat him, join him. I don't know. But if they get Garland, they could use him as an asset, another asset potentially. Or they could have him play the 2 position. Garland's 6'3". I'm not sure how that would work, but he can shoot the 3-pointer, the games he played at Vanderbilt. But I like Kemba to the Lakers. I think they need to get some type of star level talent. I think it's probably more likely they end up getting Boogie. I think the Mavericks will be more interested in getting Vucevic, and then that would probably leave no money for Kemba. So Kemba would probably be linked to the Lakers. So again, it all falls on certain players' decisions where these guys go. But for me, Kemba, it's Mavericks or Lakers for him, or one of the New York teams as well. He's from New York, so the Knicks. And I think the Knicks are more likely, but the Knicks and Nets can make a big impression on him as well.
Yeah. The 2, like you said, that I've heard most from is the Mavs and Lakers as far as connection to where Kemba's going to go. I think it goes back to what I said just a couple minutes ago, actually, that if the Mavs can find a decent guard to pair with Kristaps and possibly Boogie, that team's going to be scary. And that guard comes in form of Kemba Walker. I think, obviously, if Boogie decides before Kemba, I'm going to go to the Mavs, and it's between the Mavericks and the Lakers for Kemba, I think you have a better chance to win with the Mavericks with that lineup of, you can pair Boogie and Kristaps. You could obviously switch them 4 and 5. Some other good pieces, I'd have to obviously do some more research, but they're not bad. They're decent. And you put Kemba in there at the point to really distribute the ball out to the 2 bigs. I'm not saying it's gonna be the championship team that we saw back in like 2011 or something when they took down the Heat, but it's gonna be a good team. It's gonna be a playoff team. So I got Kemba. Sorry.
There you go, buddy.
Gotta remember who we were on. To the Mavs.
Chris Middleton. Bucks made the Eastern Conference Finals. Very well can make the finals. Give them the most money. A promising future in the Eastern Conference. What good reason would this man have to leave? I'm not even gonna get an argument on why he's gonna stay. I just gave him the reasons to you. He's not going anywhere. He's gonna re-sign with the Milwaukee Bucks. And there was a report that came out early in the season that he already gave a verbal commitment that he'd come back. There's no good reason for this man to leave. Bucks.
Chris Middleton.
That's how it's pretty simple. Now we're going to get into two all-star caliber players, or one of them's all-star caliber at least. Davis is, clearly an all-star. Are Anthony Davis and Mike Conley. Both will be on the trade block this offseason. We'll start with Anthony Davis. The Pelicans aren't keeping him.
No.
He wants out.
Go ahead.
They're not trading him to the Lakers.
Go ahead, Joe. You can put it. I think we agree on this one too. But go ahead.
The Knicks can't match what the Celtics offer. It's pretty clear here. Anthony Davis heading to Boston. The idea that you can pair Zion Williamson and Jason Tatum and potentially Jaylen Brown, add Marcus Smart to that mix, and then the draft picks that Danny Ainge possesses, 14, 20, 22, 51 next year. You get the Memphis pick. You have the Clippers pick again. And you also have Boston's pick, 2021. You have 2021. You have the Memphis pick again. You have the Celtics pick again. I believe in 2022 they have the Heat pick. There's draft picks on draft picks on draft picks, plus the young talent they already have established there. You can obviously throw Robert Williams in that package. Boston can piece together the best deal. No one's going to get in a bidding war with him. He's heading to Boston.
Right. This makes the most sense on New Orleans' side. They're going to get a lot back in return. Just going to draw a little arrow here because I totally agree with this. Celtics are going to get Anthony Davis. They can offer the most assets, the most draft picks, whatever basically New Orleans wants. Danny Ainge is going to let them have for the most part.
Lastly, here we have Mike Conley. And this is another potential Celtic. If Kyrie Irving does indeed depart from the Celtics, which I'm fully anticipating, the rumor came out the other day that the Celtics were going to try and go out and get Mike Conley to pair up with Anthony Davis. Makes sense. Veteran point guard. Got snubbed from an All-Star game last year. 21 points, 7 assists, and 3 rebounds a game. Obviously, got the 2 steals a game, I believe, as well. Great player. He fits very well within the system. He's a Brad Stevens system player. But also, if the Jazz end up empty-handed with Tobias Harris, they want to upgrade from the point guard position. They try to get Mike Conley at the trade deadline. A deal really didn't make sense at the time. I think it's going to make much more sense come draft night because now you know what exact pick the Jazz have. They obviously finished the season out, so they know what areas they can upgrade in, and that's obviously the point guard spot. If you ask me, Mike Conley is definitely an upgrade from Ricky Rubio. So I think there's just really 2 destinations here in the running. I'm putting the Celtics and Jazz. I think both teams have an equal chance of getting them. It just all depends on, again, who goes where. If Kyrie is out of Boston, Mike Conley is heading to Boston. If it's, the Jazz end up empty-handed in free agency, they're going to go out and trade for Mike Conley.
I think Jazz will move pieces if they can get Conley. That's why I'm going to put him over here. I think Celtics, like I said, originally are going to keep Kyrie. That's going to take them out of the contention for Conley. Jazz are left. They can move some pieces around, especially if they know they can have a good chance at Conley. So they'll get him, sign Tobias. Good situation.
Nothing less here. This is going to be an insane free agency. I think last year's is way overrated. LeBron went to the Lakers. That's about it in terms of what happened. And Kawhi, excuse the voice crack. Kawhi also got traded. I don't think it was that big of free agency. This year is going to be absolutely nuts. The idea that pretty much everybody on this list except Middleton could be on the move is insane. And all these guys are all-star players. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 all-star players that could be on the move this year. And with the draft, which is probably the most anticipated draft with Zion Williamson, one of the craziest off seasons in a while in the NBA. I think ever since the LeBron James and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade pair up in Miami. So again, appreciate you guys listening and watching. Spread the word of our channel. Please subscribe if you're watching. Don't be a ghost watcher. Other than that, thank you again. And Matt, go ahead.
View, like, and subscribe. Thanks, guys.